is Kcal News, Los Angeles.
Tonight, our first look at the violent police beating of Tyre Nichols that eventually led to his death. The Sacramento native and father, just 29 years old.
And Pat, reactions streaming in from across LA. LA Mayor Karen Bass, along with former law enforcement, civil rights leaders, and pastors, all condemning this deadly police beating.
Remembering the victims of the Monterey Park shooting, I'm Candace Crone. I'll show you how the community is coming together to heal.
And it's getting even harder to not only find a home, but buy one. We'll tell you what's happening in the housing market.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Pat Harvey.
And I'm Juan Fernandez. This is Kcal News at 9. Tonight, protests are underway across the U.S. and arrests as well. This is in New York's Times Square, where a huge crowd blocked traffic. We spotted a person smashing a windshield and police making arrests. This comes after police body cam was released of the violent arrest of Tyre Nichols in Memphis, Tennessee.
Now, the 5 Memphis police officers involved were fired, and they are now facing second-degree murder charges. Late Friday night, the Shelby County Sheriff said 2 of his deputies were relieved of duty pending the outcome of an investigation. And video of that brutal police beating of Tyre Nichols has now been released to the public.
And the city waited until this evening after schools were out and people were home from work. And we do want to warn you, the video is graphic and can be hard to watch. For the first time, we're seeing the violent arrest of Tyre Nichols. What began as a traffic stop quickly turned violent, as captured on multiple videos released tonight by the city of Memphis. Officers are seen pulling Nichols out of the car.
I'm just trying to go home. Man, if you don't like
They deployed a taser and pepper spray during a struggle. Nichols runs from officers. Police took him down again.
Hey, man, give me your hands, bro.
Just 80 yards from his mother's house. Then, for roughly 3 minutes, officers are seen repeatedly punching and kicking Nichols while he was handcuffed. During the assault, Nichols called out for his mother repeatedly.
Mom!
For a mother to know that their child was calling them in their need and I wasn't there for him, do you know how I feel right now?
As Nichols laid on the ground bloodied and bruised, several minutes go by without any of the officers administering first aid, along with at least 2 paramedics. Nichols died in the hospital 3 days later.
They need to see it. Everyone needs to see what the Memphis Police Department did to my son.
His mother, Rovon Wells, says she couldn't bear to watch the video. She said every night her son drove home for his meal break from his job at FedEx, where he worked for the past 9 months. The 29-year-old had been living with his parents since the pandemic, her name tattooed on his left shoulder.
My son loved me to death, and I loved him to death. We just had a special bond. He was the baby, you know.
The 5 former Memphis police officers charged are all out of jail on bond. They're facing charges including second-degree murder, aggravated assault, and aggravated kidnapping.
Justice for Tyre Nichols. Justice for Tyre Nichols.
Nichols' family attorney says they are satisfied with the charges and they're pleading for peaceful protests.
Everything about my son I loved, but what I learned
is related to the release of that Tyre Nichols tape.
Let's go to Desmond Shaw live in Kcal to bring us up to date. Des.
Juan and Pat, I would say it definitely is here at LAPD headquarters related to the Memphis incident here. There's definitely a protest. You could see, well, lots of chalk on the sidewalk and some messages here. There's some candles as well that were set out front. We saw this earlier. There had only been a dozen or so people. It has definitely grown at this point, and they have breached this makeshift barrier out here. And now LAPD is out here in front. They've kind of formed a wall in front of the protesters. They're in riot gear with less than lethal in case things get out of control. Things have been peaceful. However, there is some graffiti you can see here right up on the wall underneath the LA Police Department sign. There's another word scrawled out there as well. And protesters definitely getting right up in LAPD's face, nose to nose practically, shining strobe lights in their faces, and lots of cameras out here, lots of cell phone cameras recording as well. But other than that, I haven't seen any violence or tear gas or anything like that, but the protest definitely going on here at LAPD headquarters in downtown LA. Live in Kcal overhead, I'm Desmond Shaw. Pat and Wong, back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you so much, Desmond. And we know the family has pleaded all day with the public to, if you're going to protest, protest peacefully. But there are powerful emotions, of course. They're being brought up seeing these graphic images.
Tonight we spoke to prominent names in the community from Southern California for their reaction.
And KCAL News reporter Tom Waite joins us live with their comments. Tom?
And Pat, one of the folks we spoke to was the mayor of LA, and she was definitely imploring people to protest peacefully tonight. So as you can imagine, there is reaction pouring in from a wide array of people, from professors to politicians and civil rights leaders and former law enforcement. The consensus is this video shows terrible, unjustified